There we are. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Today, we are going to celebrate Women's Month, and it's today's conversation. And we're so happy to be here with all of you. And our guest today is Krisztina Konya, and we welcome her and my co-host, of course, Sara Jane. And we are excited to be here during this month because we're going to be bringing to you a beautiful conversation. And the topic is connection between self-love and success. So, Krisztina, we're so excited to have you here. Why don't you just start us off with just a little bit of sharing with us your definition of how self-love looks?
Oh, thank you so much. Before answering your question, I just would love to say thank you so much to both of you, Enolia and Sara Jane, for having me your today's conversation. It's a really honor. I'm really excited because this is I think the first time, and actually I'm on the other side. And to answer your question, I decided, and I think that this is also a form of self-love when you allow yourself to open up to others, not just question others, but let others to ask questions from you. And if you ask me what self-love is really, I would say that now I would define it completely different than I defined it a couple of years ago.
Okay.
Because I thought in the beginning I didn't even know what self-love is. I had no idea. I thought that it's something really selfish or, narcissistic. I grew up in a communist country where, oh my God, she loves herself. She's so, okay, so.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I moved to UK, I got in touch, I started to read and develop and start to relearn myself. And I started to search what self-love is. And then I thought, oh, that's good because then I'm going to have my hair done. I'm going to have my manicure done and a nice massage. And oh my God, I'm so loving myself. Right? And the majority of, who are not really, or they're really in the beginning of this path of knowing themselves, this is what.
Oh,
yeah, Krisztina, but I have a massage. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. So I love myself. And I said, no, because really loving yourself, it means accepting yourself just the way you are with all the goods and bads. Loving yourself, it means allowing yourself to be the way you are. It means to forgive yourself. And from my experience, I would say that it's not a one-week process. It's an ongoing process because even if I'm teaching, I'm preaching, I'm doing self-love, I still learn a lot about myself. And as I go along the way, I learn and find out more and more and more and more. But the first and really thing about self-love is just accept yourself the way you are. And that's the hardest. That's the first step is the hardest.
Yes. Sara Jane?
Yeah, I agree with everything I just said. Because, yes, I remember thinking when somebody said, oh, I like myself. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking, how the heck can you do that? I have no idea who I am to even know how to like myself. And it's and when you're in that insecure place, it is really difficult because you are behaving from learned behaviors. Everything that you do is, for me, it was a people-pleasing thing.
Yes.
And that was nothing to do with yourself. That was, well, other than the fact it was, I just want to be how people will like me. And oh boy, and there's just things around saying, I don't know what you're worrying about sort of people liking you. Most people don't like themselves. And it is really true. Let's start with the basic of like. If we can't like ourselves, we've got real trouble. So loving yourself is, go into that selfish thing. You know, and when I talk to my mother, and it's just like, and she still sees that. But talk about loving yourself, she still sees it as being the selfish aspect, rather than being that aspect of saying, I am going to be true to me. I've actually got to the stage where I've unlearned a lot of what I learnt, what doesn't serve me, and learn what helps me to be true to me, for me to feel comfortable in my own skin, so that I can actually support others way more by loving and honoring myself. The forgiveness of self, absolutely essential. Couldn't agree more. And so the loving of self is that acceptance, that trusting of self. And if something doesn't feel right to you, saying, no, that's not for me. If that feels right for you, great, go do it. It's not for me. And so it's the honoring of self and encouraging others to do exactly the same.
Yeah. So I look at self-love in so many different facets, because we talk about it from a physical standpoint, but then there's self-love from an emotional perspective. There's self-love from a perceptual and a spiritual perspective. And, you know, these things were learned. They were not automatically inherent. And, you know, when I think about what it took for me to learn self-love, I really didn't discover that until later in life, a lot later in life.
Yeah.
And so I think that the next question I'm going to ask is that we talk about and we throw around self-love like we change clothes, right? Oh, love, self-love, you know? I mean, we say these words, right? But to take them on and to bring them on brings a whole nother dimension to it. When I think about my background and my culture, and then the terms self-love in that background and that culture, it wasn't automatically prevalent in that culture. Now, Krisztina, you mentioned that you came up in a communist country. These concepts are foreign in a lot of cultures. So
Exactly.
would you share with us what it was like on your discovery of self-love coming up in a communist culture? And I think that each of us can share from our own perspective of that discovery from that culture. So would you start us off?
That's a really, really good question, because as I said, even the notion of self-love, I had no idea that such thing exists. Because, you know, I grew up, um, I've been told actually that as a girl, I have to be nice and kind and stay in my corner and do this and do that, right? So I grow up with this mentality, this learned behavior that I have to put everyone else first. And then maybe if I have some time, maybe then I can do something for myself. But we never had time to do something for ourselves. Therefore, we just do for others, right? Then I was early 20s when I ran away from home. I moved countries. I moved to Hungary. I lived there for 14 years, doing the same thing what I've done in Romania. Pleasing others, working hard, trying so hard, trying too much to please others, trying too much to be perfect, right? Trying too much to fit in. This is the word what they use nowadays, trying too much to fit in. And then actually when I came to London, which is a multicultural city with different colors, different cultures, different everything is a mix, that this was the place where actually I kind of started to open my eyes. Because until then, and I was almost 40, because until then, it was like, you know, when you cannot see the whole wood, the whole, but one single tree. But then I started, you know, to meet different cultures, meet different people, engage in different conversations. And they were speaking English to me, and I was like, what they are talking about? I have no idea. They were talking about spirituality and about divine and about, loving yourself and forgiveness. And I was like, what's that? Right? But Krisztina, being a very curious person, I was like, okay, I'm going to find out. No. There's no, what's that? I'm going to prove you that you're wrong. That time, Krisztina. And I started to learn and read. And I realized that, oh my goodness, I know nothing. And from that, I always love to read and learn. The journey started actually not on working on myself, but reading about it, finding out what it is self-love, what spirituality is. I thought in the beginning that it's something hoodoo, where people dancing around the fire. This is how I grew up. I had no idea what's that. Singing, and I was like, oh, those are people, those spiritual people. So I started to read to get to know exactly what the notion of spirituality, divine, and all this kind of stuff means. This is how it started. And when I got familiar with notions, first like self-love, self-awareness, I didn't know what self-awareness, self-worth. I never heard what's that self-worth, how do you work? And I started to think, how do you value self-worth? It means that I have to give a number. I value, what's my value, 50,000? This is what I thought. And I was almost 40. So this is really about, it's not about ignorance, it's about how open-minded a nation, how open-minded a community is. What you learn from your parents is you learn what they know. They didn't know that something else exists. This is what I learned, right? And I say I was really, really lucky to get a little bit out. The world is wide, the world is big, really. And when you are not, in your little bubble, thinking that the way how you do is nice and good, even if it's not, when you try and see from different perspectives, then actually the world is open up to you. Then is the moment when you realize that you know nothing. And if you are willing to learn, that you will find out a lot of things, not about other people, but about yourself first. And that was huge. I remember the first time, the really first exercise, it was really hard for me to do. It was looking in the mirror and actually seeing myself. It was really hard. Mm-hmm. I worked with the coach, and she said, Krisztina, okay, this is, try not just to look, but to really see yourself. And I'm looking in the mirror. I don't really like what I see. I just do my makeup. And this is what majority of us really do. You look in the mirror, you do the makeup, a little bit here, oh, my cheeks look nice, a little bit of red, and that's it. But you didn't see the person. You did not see the soul. You were looking back to the mirror. So I answered just stop me if I talk too much, please, because I tend to talk a lot. And you asked me about that. But yes, the notion of self-love, no. Yeah. But when you try to open, you go and try to find out things, that everything gets open up. But you really need to be open-minded, open-hearted, and ready to learn, really.
Yeah. Sara Jane, we're going to go to you.
I was brought up in a fairly ordinary English family, but it doesn't matter because so many of the things that you talk about, because I was raised up within a Catholic family and some of the time going to a Catholic school, and there obviously loving yourself is one thing you are definitely not taught. You are definitely not taught that it is okay to love yourself or what that actually means. Because the only meaning for self-love is a selfish thing. And that still, as I said, it exists within my parents' generation to a great degree. Because, okay, mum's sort of mid-80s now. And she's she is not going to change. I'd love to think she could, but I don't think she's going to. And so it's been very hard for her because she's got 2 daughters that have definitely stepped out of that regime.
I can relate to that.
And sort of another one that, you know, sort of is very aware of her 2 sisters. And, you know, she occasionally is open to things, and which is brilliant. And I actually think she's more open than she lets on at times, which is fabulous. It really is. For me, the wake up was very much the incident of the broken jaw, the 6 months of pain and sleepless nights, which left me so exhausted. It was just like, I cannot keep this up, this people pleasing, this thinking about everybody. And I wasn't even on the list. You know, you said about if there was time, well, forget it. There wasn't even that comment that if there's time, you can think about yourself.
Exactly.
And it was just like, I just can't do this anymore. But I think it, for me, as I know I've said before, it was the realization that and I don't know where the thought came from. Maybe it was a gift from the universe. It probably was a gift from the universe of, don't worry about what other people think about you, because they haven't got time to think about you. They're worrying about all the stuff that's going on in their own lives. And that is so freeing to realize that actually don't worry about what other people think of you. And then obviously there's that extra bit that's added to that. And if they are, and they are being judgmental, it's none of your business what they are thinking about you, because they are coming from their perspective, from their experiences. So be true to you, regardless of what others may say. And saying no when you've always said yes isn't the easiest of things to do. But if that no is honoring you, your peace of mind, your ethics, your morals, then absolutely say it and mean it and stick to it. Don't be bullied. What is it they're saying? When you set boundaries, the only people that don't like you doing that are the people that have abused them. So it's, I love all these quotes that are going around, because actually there is so much truth in them, in the simplest wording. And self-love is just that. It's just saying, okay, I am going to think about me. I am going to ask myself, does this feel right, or does it feel wrong? Is this for me? Isn't it for me? And don't be afraid to ask others. And if there's reaction, you know, if you want support, want help, if they say no, fine, it's not for them. It's for you, and it might be for someone else, but maybe you've just got to do it yourself. It's honoring you. And no, it can be easy if you are truly ready to say, I'm going to dive into this, not just, you know, not dive, I think first, I am in this, because we have to be in this for ourselves, not for anybody else, for ourselves. Enolia.
So I'm sitting here thinking about this, and I really want to bring in that cultural perspective. So I think about my own culture, and I grew up in the 60s, and, you know, coming up, I knew about free love. You know, my sister was a product of, my sister's 15 years older. So it was just like, she was grown, I was young, and I realized that, you know, hot pants, free love, and woohoo, I'm going to get whatever I want to get, you know. but that wasn't self-love. I grew up knowing that my parents loved me, cared about me. I grew up knowing that in relationship, there was sacrifice. I grew up understanding that love came first in everything, but love of family. And what that created as I grew over was not self-love, it was martyrdom, right? Self-sacrifice. Well, if I truly love and I have the highest love, then I'm going to put myself second and put everybody else first. If I truly love, I'm going to put my husband first. If I truly love, I'm going to put my kids first. And then each of us, and I don't know how it was for you, but for me, I reached this precipice in my life where I said, I can't do this anymore. I can't put everybody first anymore. I can't allow myself to be, doormat or used or stood on top of to escalate everybody else except for myself. And so this whole concept of self-love for me was learned when I decided, when I looked in the mirror and I didn't like what I saw, and I was like, how am I going to define and grab back my worth? I need something in this family. And I think that the first act that I truly ever did was to sit my family down at the time and say, I am no longer the martyr. I am not going to put all of my stuff aside just because you guys have stuff. You're going to either get there an hour early and wait an hour. And I don't care if it's convenient for you. You're going to find a ride. And who I am is just as important as you. And I want equal footing now. And I think that that was the first declaration of loving self. And then from there, reading and everything else, and then understanding that I need to take care of myself. It's just not the fact that I like to get my hair done or my nails done, but that this nurturing piece, because all I was doing as a mother and as a wife was nurturing others and giving to other people, that I needed that back. And if I couldn't get that back from others, who was going to give it back to me except me? And I talk about that on a physical plane. And we understand what that means emotionally, and we understand what that means in every other aspect. And I look at cultures, like I'm in a culture where that's just not even considered. When you're in a culture and it's like you are groomed as a woman to be the martyr, to take care of other people and to put other people first, the whole relationship and any relationship that you have until you're old enough to dictate that the younger people do that to others. Self-love is not an easy concept. It really isn't. And to embrace it and to act it and be it is really, really something that you have to transcend to. And so in saying that transcendence, I want to bring into our next level, which is that, and I'm going to tie this back to success. We'll get there. But I want to talk about this because it's so important, which is that we talk about self-love from a physical perspective. Go out, get your nails done, blah, 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 blah. We talk about it from an emotional perspective. Oh, yeah, I need self-love. I need to love myself. I perceive self-love to look like this. But let's talk about it from a spiritual perspective. Because we are energy beings having a human experience. And we are energy beings living a human experience. But if we could progress, I'm not even going to say digress, progress into just being that energy being. What does self-love mean to you? And what do you see it as from that perspective?
Enolia, before we go any further and answer that question, they've got a couple of comments from Ivy. So Ivy, thank you very much. There is nothing like worry about other people's thoughts, and absolutely it debilitates so many of us. It really does, until we realize it's a waste of time worrying about it. Self-love is granting yourself access to be free. Absolutely. Brilliantly
Absolutely,
said.
Ivy.
Brilliantly
yes.
said. And
brilliantly said.
that first step can be very liberating. sitting your family down is not an easy task for a cultural, from a cultural perspective.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank
It was
you
the
for
hardest
your
thing I ever
insight.
did.
Appreciated.
Yes, thank you, Ivy, for that comment. It was the hardest thing I ever did. It was the hardest thing that I actually had to and here I am saying that I'm on equal footing with my 12-year-old and my 10-year-old, that they came first. Wow. And that I needed to come equal status and nobody came first. That we were all just as valuable. So I want to take it to that next level and I want to ask that question. How do we look at that self-love from an energetic perspective and from a spiritual embracing, knowing that we are energy beings having a human experience?
That's a very, very good question. I try to answer as short and concise as possible. But I'm hearing you two ladies saying a lot of things that can relate to me as well. I really admire your courage, though, sitting down with your family. I'm just going to go back there for just one idea, because for me, it took quite a lot of time until I actually dared to speak up for myself. And going to spirituality, I'm gonna say that I learned that when my daughter was born, I decided that I'm gonna do everything in my power to give her a life which is completely different than my one. And this is actually how my journey in spirituality started. And this is how I learned that whatever I'm healing in myself, I'm healing in my daughter and in my whole lineage. This is how I learned that I am nothing else but energy. I had no idea about this, but the subject fascinated me and I started to learn and experience, and then I closed my eyes, and when I started to feel, to get into that, that was the moment when I said, okay, I am much more than a tattooed girl. I am much more than a mother. Because I was here before. I'm not sure if I'm going to go there, but I was here before. Maybe I'm going to come back. But in this lifetime, I'm going to do whatever I can and whatever it is possible, because I am supported. I understood. And we were talking a little bit earlier, Sarah Jane, about trust. Remember? Sometimes, even knowing that I am light, I am a beautiful soul, and I am supported because I'm living in a human body. I'm having a human experience. I am losing my faith. Even now, knowing all these things, I'm losing my trust. But the difference between now and a couple of years ago is that even if I'm on my knees, I lost my trust and I lost my faith, I get back faster and sooner because I know who I am. I didn't know that a couple of years ago. And if I was down in my knees, I blamed everyone and everything. And I started with God. Why me? Why I'm down on my knees? But now I say, okay, I'm down. It means I have to learn a lesson. What's my lesson? What I need to learn. And I need to stand up fast. And I'm doing that because, as I said, whatever I'm healing in myself, I discover in myself, whatever I am unlearning, and then new I'm learning, I give that to my daughter. And she's going to bring the light. And oh my God, she's an 11-year kid, but trust me, I learn more from her than from any other adult. And this is who I am, just light. And this is who you are, ladies, just light. But understanding that you are light and you are divine. To get to the point when you understand who you really are, it's a path. You have to walk. You have to do the shadow work. I'm doing it still. It's ongoing. You have to really go deep inside you and try to understand and try to accept the fact that you are not just flesh and blood, okay? You are much more than that. So loving yourself is, from spiritual perspective, is loving God, is loving the universe, is loving the divine, because that's who we are. And in culture, this is really, really, really hard to accept. When I said, you know what? I'm divine. I am God. Like, shh, that's profane. How would you say that? God is up and is hearing you. Well, no, he's not, because I grew up thinking that he's up there, you know, he has a big white beard and sitting on a chair and judge you, punish you. You know, 10 prayers, 20 prayers, 10 that. And I'm, please God, don't punish me. Okay? But when I understood that, no, he's not up there and I'm down here. He's everywhere. He is with me, within me, in you and within you. And he's in this flower and my cat and in the waterfall. That was the moment. And I said, this means love, really. And self-love, actually, you know, self-love is really, it's a very popular term right now. Like spirituality and awakening and all kind of stuff. It got very popular. It lost the meaning, right? We take a word, we take something and we make something ordinary out of it. Because this is how we are, right? But actually the terminology, the self-love, it goes way back thousands of years. Thousands of years. It's not a new notion. It's not something invented now. But what we are doing right now is that we are using it so much, self-love here, self-love up, self-love down, that it's going to lose its power. It's going to lose its significance. And this is what we do with every word. We are doing this with spirituality. Oh, I'm a spiritual person. Everybody now is a spiritual person. But when you ask a spiritual person, what does it mean, spirituality? They were like, okay. So this is what happens because of media, because of things, and because of us not willing really to go deep and find, you know, the middle, the root, and accepting everything what we are taught. And we are. I love what you said, Sara Jane, a little bit earlier about, you know, about people pleasing and stuff like that, and learning and unlearning things, because we have, I think 90% of our behavior are learned behaviors and habits, really. And even the fact how to love, we have been taught how to love. But question that, is that their perspective or mine? How I love, what love means for me.
Beautiful.
Talking to guys a lot. Guys, just stop me.
We're going to cut over to Sara Jane real quick. Yeah.
The spiritual side of things. I was raised a Catholic. In fact, at the time I went and did my level 1 Reiki, which was, I was looking for something that I could do to help me. And I think support me. And I don't even think there was a particular thought of level. It was just, you know, I couldn't learn massage because you can't learn massage yourself. It was, what can I do for me? And it was that Reiki. The first person you treat is yourself. It's not about anybody else to start with. It's about you. And I thought, yes, that's obviously what I'm looking for, because I suppose without realizing it, I put it out there. What can I learn for me? And doing my level 1 Reiki, learning about the sound energy, learning about things like techniques like metamorphic techniques, but also learning about your chakras, and then being given the book Conversations with God. Now, God isn't actually a word I tend to use very much anymore. I think of creator, great mystery, source. That's my form of terminology that I tend to use, because it's about the whole. It is about what we are, every single one of us are connected to. and are a part of, and is a part of us. And then I started sort of, and the Conversations with God books, they just made, not initially, that I struggled with some aspects, but by the time I'd finished reading book 3, it just made so much sense to me. It really did. If you like, life made sense. That was one of the biggest things. But then I also did some workshops, and they were referred to as Lords of Melchizedek workshops. They were energy workshops. And the very first one I went to, I was getting into the car in the morning, and I was thinking, what the heck are you going for, Sarah? You don't see things, you don't hear things, you just trust and you know. I said, well, I thought, well, I've paid for it now, I'm going. Oh boy, I did all 10 of the whole series of the Lords of Melchizedek workshops. Boy, the things that were occurring in meditations for me. That's supporting the raising us up through the levels of the dimensions of ourselves. It was, oh my goodness. It was amazing. And one thing I've said to many people is, you know, and I accept this about myself, I am special. Everybody is special. No one is more special than anybody else. And one day when a client said to me, you are special, I looked at her and said, I know. But there was absolutely no conceit in that. Because as far as I am concerned, I am no better than anybody else. But we are all unique in that. And so from the spiritual side of things, it comes to us all differently. It really does come to us all very differently. And so what is speaking to you? What are you feeling in your gut? Because seriously, there were aspects reading Conversations with God where you read the question, but the answer I was reading was my answer, was the answer that was right deep down inside of me. I felt that answer. I was reading the answer that was my answer. And eventually, I found myself going to church and listening to the sermon and thinking, oh, you've got it. Yeah, I lost it. And I thought, hang on, why are you still going to church, Sarah? Why are you still going to church? They were beautiful people. I met some lovely people there. I really did. But it was, why are you still going to church? Because every bit of good they comment, they literally wipe away with one comment at the end. And they don't really think they know they're doing it. And I cannot say the Lord's Prayer. For those who are Catholic and know the prayer, the Hail Mary, and it's got an aspect in it, you know, it uses the word sinners. I can say the Hail Mary, but I have to lose that word sinner out. That's gone, you know. Conversations with God was that catalyst for a lot. There was a lot of other things, but that was a really big catalyst for me. Enolia, and Ivy has put another comment. I'll have a read of that and I'll come back to you.
Why don't you go ahead with Ivy's comment and then I'll continue on.
Thanks for sharing that. So I'm not sure what she was talking about. Probably yourself, Krisztina, for sharing that. Taking that step is the beginning to your spiritual journey because you're not afraid. You can finally lose that mask. Oh yeah, absolutely, and embrace yourself in your totality, which is equal to loving yourself. 100%, absolutely, Ivy.
So I'll continue on with the fact that growing up, you know, it was an eclectic scenario for me. I mean, I was raised Baptist. I went to a Lutheran school and we had to go to church every Thursday. And then I got married Catholic and, you know, and we raised our kids Baptist and Catholic. And then I discovered spirituality in my being. And then while I was in Lutheran school, we had to study all of the other religions. okay, because that's the nature of it, to understand all. So really for me, and then my mother used to send me to church all the time, and I'm like, Mom, well, why don't you go? And she's like, I put in my time, my church is in my heart, you go, right? But what it really was that she was a pastor's daughter, so she really did put in her time, you know. But then when we got older, that church is in my heart always resonated with me.
Yes.
You know, that is what it means. And then one time I had a profound conversation with my mom, in which she said, my church is in my heart, which is that your physical being is your temple. Your physical being is the church. And so then when I got into the shamanic studies, what the shamanic studies did for me was that here all of a sudden we were studying the energetics of who we are. Not the humanness of who we are, but the energetics, the energy of who we are. And in studying the energy of who we are, then I could actually see the human experience will dictate X, Y, and Z, but the energy experience transcends all of it. So what I learned was that when I look through the eyes of the being that I am, not the physical being, but the being that I am, that the expression of love and oneness and being and existing and being with source, and I do that too. I tend to use source, great mystery, the all, you know, I think it's human beingness that needs to define as he and she, you know, but energy is energy. And really, when we transcend this physical existence, that we are all one energy. And that's why in our humanness, we say we are all one. You know, people say it, but they don't understand it. All right. And so that when we transcend this physical being that we are, and we're all just energy, and we're all in that energetic state, yeah, we are all one. Good, bad, and different doesn't matter. We are all one. But in our spirituality, in our temple, the question is, can we maintain that beingness and see through the eyes of that beingness during this human experience? And the human experience tends to drop us at a lower level of operations, such that the emotional state leads, you know, the perceptual state leads, the and I call it the physical state, but what's, you know, the black and white state, you know, this is fact, this isn't fact, this is true, this isn't true, you know, because it's right there in front of me, tangible, this happened, this didn't happen, you know, that aspect kicks in. And so when you have three other aspects that are kicking in to give you the totality of this experience that we're having, it's very hard to be at this energetic state of mind that leads you through your life. So for me, that self-love is when I can just transcend all of this and really just love and see through the eyes of love of everything and everyone in every situation and every circumstance around me. And that, of course, I'm going to love myself. I'm just energy. And of the energy of love, what else would I do? What else would I transmit, vibrate, resonate, be? So that's kind of like my 2 cents in it. And I want to talk about a little bit of how we tie the self-love to success. And how is success defined through the self-love?
That's a really nice question. I love the question because we talk about a lot of things here, ladies, about people pleasing, about putting everyone ahead of us, putting ourselves. Now, when it comes to success, I say like this: if you do not love and respect yourself, then you will not be successful in your life. When you learn to love and respect yourself, then you will be successful in all areas of your life. Because let's take just simple example. Let's say in business, okay? Well, because people, when talk about success, the first thing they pop in is business. There are many successes in life, but business comes first, right? Now, how self-love and business is connected, when you lead your business, when you are a leader from heart, not from head, you are a much better leader. You are not a manager anymore, you are a leader. But in order to lead from heart, it means that you have to know yourself well. You have to allow yourself to trust other people, but you cannot trust other people if you do not trust yourself. As a leader, you would love to have respect, right? But if you do not respect yourself, you cannot expect others to respect you, right? Because they only can love you, respect you, and they're going to treat you the way how you treat yourself. And here I'm going back to Enolia, to the energy and to the frequency what you emanate. Because you are an energy being, the way how you are in peace with yourself, you love yourself, you respect yourself, is going to show in the world. And this is what you're going to get back. So in every type of relationship, you will only get back what you give. If you do not love it, if you love yourself a tiny bit, let's say, you will get back a tiny bit of love. If you just respect yourself a tiny bit, you will get back a tiny bit of respect. Just the way how you respect yourself. And this in all areas. So this is how I connect success and self-love. And it's a huge connection between, because when you love yourself, you are not a people pleaser anymore. You are not doing what other people tell you to do, as you've been taught to do. You are not doing it to be accepted, but you are doing it for yourself. That's going to make the difference in your relationship, in your business, in your finances, in everything. So everyone's asking, Krisztina, why would you connect self-love with success? That's why, because that's the basic. Self-love really is the basic of everything. In order to have a successful relationship, you have to know yourself first before you know your partner. In order to have a really good business relationship, you have to know yourself first. You have to know what are your needs, wants, before you put it out in the world, right? So this is how basically success and self-love are really, really, really interconnected. And the first thing what we really, this is a hard word, but should learn, as it's to love ourselves and to love ourselves in a healthy way and unapologetically and unconditionally. I'm saying this out loud, yet I am still learning. I'm still in the process of learning. I'm teaching, inspiring others, but only to the level where I am right now. And as I grow and I know more, I will teach, inspire, and tell more. But this is where I am right now. I'm still learning, I'm still going, and I think I'm going to learn this lifetime until the contract is ending.
Beautiful. Yeah. Were you finished? Were you finished with that thought?
Just one more sentence, that I think that this is the connection really between self-love and success. Because success, it's not just in business. Success means different things to different people, but it's really, really, really a deep, deep, deep connection in between them.
Sara Jane?
Yeah, success comes in so many forms. Success in relationships. And that's not just boyfriend, girlfriend, marriages, etc. It's success within families. But it's also about you teaching others how to treat you. And if they watch you do yourself down or allow somebody else to walk all over you, you're just teaching them that they can do exactly that. You stand up and say, no, ethically, that's wrong for me. That just doesn't feel right for me. No, I'm not prepared to be a part of that. You're telling them no. But you can also be saying yes yes comes in, but say yes when you mean yes. And they may not like the yes either.
True.
It may not
That's
be
true.
their yes. It is really important that you truly honor what feels right for you. And if something doesn't feel right, is there an aspect of it that does? That you're prepared to say, I can work with you so far, even in relationships. Marriages, I've got 2 marriages behind me, and they were totally not right for me. But I didn't know how to say no. Bless them, bless them. And yes, there's that gratitude for the gift of the experience that they gave me. There's also the forgiveness of self. But I also believe that there was an agreement between us, our souls. And think about that, going back to spirituality, those agreements that have been made, the experiences you have given yourself to get you to the point, the experiences I had as a child, the experience that woke me up, they were gifts I gave myself. Do I accept those gifts as gifts? Can I see them as a gift? Because they were given to me, by me, out of love. I have a friend that unfortunately rings me all too often for her, and she keeps going into negative downward spirals because she's, bless her, she can get into that self-love and then she loses it again. And it's holding on to that energy. And success in so many different ways, not just in business, but in relationships, in all sorts of things. But actually, success in experiencing your own life comes with loving yourself. You can fully experience when you love, trust, and believe in the amazing being you are.
So that is so beautiful, and I agree with you both. And so I'm sitting here going, what can I contribute? And I want to talk about that self-love as an energy, as an energy, period.
Mm-hmm.
See, at the core of our being, if we have self-love, then we're vibrating self-love. And if we're vibrating self-love, and we're in the energy of self-love, which is trusting ourselves, loving ourselves, just like we said, just like we defined in all of the various ways, we are going to attract like vibrations. And in attracting like vibrations, no matter what you define as success, you're going to attract what you are. You're going to attract that divine alignment, that matching vibration of what you are in what you do. So it is absolutely imperative that love of self, value of self, self-worthiness, self-trust, self-authenticity, all of it has to be embraced or situated cleanly within your heart, in your soul, because when I encounter you, your experience of me is that self-love. And if you're not experiencing that, if you're experiencing something else, the negativity, the down, she shifted right in the middle of that conversation. Holy cow, what the heck was that? We feel it. And so if we understand that we have that kind of impact on people, and I subscribe to the fact that everything is energy, everything. The pencil is energy, the wall behind me is energy, all of its energy. The wall, because it's crystal quartz, amplifies what I have to say. You know, people are going like, how can a wall be energy? Because it amplifies, because it is stone, because everything has energy. It has the energy of the person who made it. It has the energy of the person who created it, who wove it. Have you ever wanted to eat food behind somebody who is in a bad mood? No, because their energy is imbued in it. So if we are truly energy and we want success in our life, we're going to attract that exactly what we are. And that is successful. And everybody's definition, like you said, is something. And then when we encounter energies that don't match ours, that's where we draw our boundaries. And that's where we establish limits. Nope, not interested, because when I'm feeling you, I'm feeling bad. Don't want to be around you anymore. Nope, not interested, because last time I worked with you, you created chaos. And I don't want to be around people who create chaos. Nope, not interested, because when I speak to you, you give me a sense of feeling small, and I don't like feeling small, because what you have to say doesn't resonate with me. It doesn't match where my mindset is. So I look at all these things, and to me, you nailed it with self-love defines the success in your life. It truly, truly. So in understanding all of the ways that we kind of brought it and put a nice little bow on it, what last tips would you leave with our audience? Because we're coming up on an hour and I know we have to end this conversation, although I don't want to. What tips would you leave with our audience, both Sara Jane and Krisztina?
Jane?
Yeah.
I don't think any of us have found it easy. If you're looking for an easy way, I don't think you're going to find it. But find your own way. Find the books or the meditations or the coach or somebody who's running a workshop. Think about what practices and techniques. Does yoga speak to you, or Pilates speak to you, or Tai Chi speak to you? Find, or having Reiki sessions or whatever, find what speaks to you to support you to find yourself. Because self-love is about finding you, about undoing everything that you've learned, or practically everything you've learned.
Okay.
And finding what is really, truly you, who you are. And it's not a 5-second or a 5-minute process. I'd say we're all still going through it, and I've been going through it for over 20 years, 25 years, 26 years. But I wouldn't go back and change any of it. I really wouldn't, because where I was to where I am today, and where I was, wouldn't have had the confidence to even think about being on the internet and sharing my thoughts. That is the difference that being confident and comfortable loving yourself makes.
Wow. That's so beautifully said, Sara and Jane, really. And all what I can add is that based on our conversation from today, really, it might seem hard. It is. I'm not going to say it's easy. But at the end of the day, what I'm saying is that it's worth really going deep, really loving yourself. The first and most important thing what you can do for yourself is to be self-aware and to dare, really, to have the courage to be different, to have the courage to be more than your conditioning, to have the courage to unlearn and to put down all the generational wounds what you carry with you, because you carry not just yours, you carry generational wounds with you, generational conditioning. And it might be very difficult to put all this down in one lifetime. But if you start now, it's going to be easier and easier, and your life is going to be lighter and lighter. It's an ongoing process, really. And I said, I'm still on it. I'm still on it. I will be on it for a long, long, long time. But the more I learn about myself, the more aware I am, the more connected I am with me, the more lighter I feel. And that's, I mean, come on, that's everything. That really was the work. This is just all what I would love to share. Just to dare to reconnect with who you really are.
Yes. And I would say, don't be afraid to sit still and take stock and take inventory of self. This is one of the first things that we don't want to do. We don't want to look at those parts of ourselves that aren't as, I don't know, beautiful as the parts of ourselves that we love about ourselves, you know, and we kind of like tuck those away or ignore that, or, oh, that's a sore spot for me. Take stock of everything. And if you know you don't like an aspect, or you want to change, or you want to adjust, or you want to transform an aspect of self, you got to recognize it first. And if you dare to have the courage to recognize it, that's the first step. And if you need assistance in doing it, get a coach, work with someone, but dare to take the first step. It's so, so, so important.
I don't know whether we can answer this quickly, because I've just seen that there was a question from Ivy. How long did it take each of you ladies on the panel to achieve self-love? I think we're all still trying.
Yes.
I think that we learn about it. I think that we achieve it. But I think to maintain, remember I was talking about that transcendence piece, right? In the human experience versus if I was up here and out of my body, I am always self-love. I don't have to practice anything or work at anything. But in the human condition, because we have things that challenge that emotional state of being, circumstances, emotions, relationships, you know, lack, millions of things that challenge it every day that help make that state of mind waver. That's the biggest struggle, is maintaining that state of mind in the face of adversity. I don't know if anyone else was supposed to answer that, but that's how I'll answer it.
Yeah. Krisztina.
Absolutely agree with Enolia. Really, really. It's an ongoing process. You're always going to face challenges. You're always going to discover something new about yourself. You're always going to discover an old hidden, you know, emotion here and there, what needs to be, you know, healed and wounded. I mean, it's really an ongoing process. But as I said a little bit earlier, with every little win, with every little I embrace myself, it's going to be lighter and lighter, really.
Yeah, and I agree wholeheartedly. The beginning of the process is just take the first step, and you know, and just support yourself, encourage yourself, and you'll be challenged. You will be challenged every step of the way. But the more you learn to love yourself, the more you will be able to meet those challenges. I don't think the challenges ever go away, because we are here to have human experiences. But yeah, as I said, so 26 odd years or something like that. And it's still happening on a daily basis, and it's going to for all of us. So Ivy, I hope that's answered your question. I'm sure it has, actually. Not quite the answers you were expecting. But thank you, ladies, for an amazing conversation. And I know we've run slightly over the hour, but obviously the information that we've shared here, hopefully it really has supported you. Krisztina, we will make sure that yours, Enolia's, and mine information is all put under the YouTube channel. But do you want to just very quickly share your website address if people would like to get in touch with you?
Yeah, thank you. I have a brand new website. I'm really, really happy that it turned out the way it is, because it is created with you in mind. It's www.myname.KristinaKonya.com.
Will you spell Krisztina for them, because you don't spell it the normal way?
Okay. It's KrystinaKonya.com.
Okay, now am I thinking, did I hear I or Y? K-R-I?
I from India.
I, yeah. So Krisztina.
K-R-I-S-Z.
Yeah.
S-Z-T. Yeah, I have a difficult name. This is the name I'm using actually right now, Krisztina. My Hungarian name is Gyöngyi, difficult to pronounce, so that's why I stick with Krisztina. My website is KristinaKonya.com.
So, Krisztina, thank you for joining us and for sharing us. Obviously, thank you to my co-host, Enolia.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
And in a fortnight's time, so Wednesday, the 23rd of March, we are being joined by Kellen Flukiger. And and I hope I said that right. And our topic is going to be forgiveness, a journey of courage to a place of freedom and power. I hope that you will join us for that. Ivy, thank you, yes, for all the comments you've made. It's much appreciated having your feedback. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, one and all, for watching, whether live or whether the replayed video. Take care, everyone. Be safe. Stay well. Namaste to you all.
Ahoy.
Bye.
Bye.